change is beautiful, but most of the time it's painful. And painful in the sense that you are going to be really stretched into your core. Like the universe, God would really test you what your limit is in terms of handling all these trials, these problems that would come into your lap. Sometimes those things are really there to help you learn, and lessons are best learned through experience.
Welcome to Spill the Creativity Podcast, the podcast where we will be having conversations with other creatives that will inspire us, keep us encouraged, and push us to reach our own goals. This is the place where we will be acknowledging the hard truths because while this path is fulfilling, the truth is there's no easy way to do things. It all takes hard work. We are going to be talking about the good and the bad about choosing a creative career. If you're looking for a cup of stimulation for creatives, a warm cup of tea in this otherwise bittersweet pursuit, then you're in the right place. So let's get that cup of tea and get on with the conversation.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spill the Creativity Podcast. And today is going to be very special. It's going to be a very special episode because as of this recording, I am officially 30 years old. And I'm usually the kind of person who doesn't really give a shit about age. Like, I'm the kind of person who would never try to hide my age, or I was never really embarrassed that I'm getting older or whatnot. But, like, in the last few days, it was really emotional for me because there were, I would say, like, mga pahabol na lessons, yung universe, si God, for me. And it was crazy. I'm not sure if it was the universe, if it was God, or if it was just the Mercury retrograde. But the last few weeks has been super duper crazy for me. And I couldn't help but think, like, okay, is this how being a 30-year-old should feel like? Like, I honestly felt like every day was a battle, but we're alive, we're here. I'm here in front of you. I'm here speaking into this mic. And for that, I am super duper grateful. But yeah, today I am going to share with you 20 things that I learned in my 20s as I officially put an end or as I officially wrap up my 20s. And yeah, so as I've said earlier, I'm not really the kind of person who really gives a shit about age, but for some reason, and I believe it has also something to do with all the things that happened in the previous weeks and the previous days that made me ending this chapter a bit emotional. And I don't know, like the kind of feeling I had was something that I felt like I want to grieve. I felt like I wanted to grieve the persona that I am leaving behind. I don't want to be like over dramatic and totally like let go of this other person. But when I was journaling yesterday, I realized that I really was letting go a part of me, not because I want to, but because I've really outgrown that part of me already. So I thought I'd share like 20 things that I learned in my 20s. And yeah, I hope you like this episode. So, first off, is that number one, you're not supposed to have your shit together. When I got married, I was 28, 27 during that time. And I was kind of panicking that I was already in my late 20s and there were still so many things that I didn't know. But I realized when I started speaking to people who are much wiser, people who have gone through more things than I have, and people who are much older than I am, is that we're really not supposed to get our shit together. Like, that is life. I mean, that's just how life goes. There are things that we don't know, there are things that we know, and that's just it. It's just a fact of life. And it's great that we are trying to process things. It's great that we're trying to make life easier by thinking about all these life hacks and all that. But we can only do so much because no matter how much we try to figure things out, life is just really unpredictable. No matter how hard we plan, no matter how hard we prepare for things, life just really has a fun way of just showing us like we are all fun. Exhibit A, the COVID. At first, it was very frustrating for me because I feel like, why are we always in a battle? But then I realized that that was just me. I'm the kind of person who would always likes to prepare things. I'm the kind of person who hates surprises because I don't like things that go unplanned. I don't like things that aren't in my planner. But yeah, life is just unpredictable, and that's just a fact of life. So I just have to accept that. and be present and be my best. Lesson number two is spend time to get to know yourself. In the 20s, again, we are so pressured to know everything already. We are so pressured to know our purpose, to know our path, to know our passion, and all that. But in reality, our 20s is the best time for us to really get to know ourselves. It's the time where we finally have jobs. It's the time when we finally have the money, the financial capacity to do things like maybe travel, watch concert, do things on our own, do things without our parents' supervision. Yeah, it's really a time for us to explore. Another thing about getting to know yourself is that you really wouldn't know what you want unless you try. If you are in your 20s, and I'm not saying that you can't explore anymore when you're older, but what I'm saying is when you're in your 20s, try not to make sense of things immediately. Like, try not to pressure yourself to know your purpose, to know your passion, because this is the time when we are figuring out what that is. So I would say, like, enjoy the moment, enjoy the process of you getting to know yourself, of you exploring this world, exploring this life, exploring your personalities, what you really want, what you really don't want. Because when we were younger, when we were in our teens, most of our decisions are heavily influenced by our parents. It's heavily influenced by the people who are around us, by the people who raised us, by society, by our school, by our church. But then when you come to your 20s, most of us, I would say, we sort of get this taste of independence and we are now kind of on our own. We now get to decide for ourselves. So during this time, try to figure out what you want and don't pressure yourself too much to figure things out. And the third is be comfortable with your own company. So I guess this also goes hand in hand with getting to know yourself. One of the things that I learned is that most of us are also heavily influenced by our friends, by the people we surround ourselves with. And sometimes we don't really notice it, we don't really see it. But sometimes, like, the things that we like are the things that our friends like, the things that our circles like, but those aren't really the things that we like. So, say, for example, like a concrete example for me is drinking. Like, I thought I liked drinking. I'm not necessarily like peer pressured because I also really wanted to drink. But then now that I'm getting older, I realized that I hated the feeling of getting woozy. I hated the feeling of having a headache after a really great day. I hated the feeling of not remembering everything that happened the night before because I was so tipsy or I got so drunk. So, yeah, that is like one of the things that I found out that when I spent time with myself, I figured that while drinking is fun, it's not really something that I like. And also, another thing about being comfortable with your own company is that we are kind of in a society where people who are seen to be on their own are perceived to be alone. And I know, like, for a while, there was this meme going around where people were taking pictures of people who are eating alone, posting those pictures on social media, saying that they feel sorry for this person, that they don't have anybody else with them. But honestly, being comfortable with your own self is one of the best things that I learned because it makes you realize that you are complete on your own, that you are already good on your own. You don't need anybody else's validation. And when you truly get to know yourself, it's so much easier to make decisions as well, to make empowered decisions because, again, like based on experience, I realized that most of my decisions were heavily influenced by the people around me. Like, they don't really tell me what to do, but because so many people are doing this and so many people are doing that, I tend to go into that direction as well. But when you know who you truly are, it's easier to say no. It's easier to say yes. It's easier to make an empowered decision, like decisions that you actually want, not things that just because it was the hype at that moment that you made that decision. So when you're comfortable with your own company, when you know who you truly are, when you know all these things about you, it's so much easier to make decisions and it's so much easier to be confident. And fourth, I know that in the third, I said that be comfortable with your own company, but fourth is don't be afraid to ask for help. Now, most of us think that we are carrying our own crosses alone, but the reality is that we're not. One of the things that TikTok has taught me is that sometimes our most unique experiences are not that unique at all. Like, whenever I see things on TikTok that are very specific that other people experience, that I experience as well, that's when I realize that, you know what, we truly are not alone. There are experiences that we think we are only going through, but other people, lots of people are going through those things as well. And while it's great that you can handle your problems, you can handle situations on your own, when it's time to ask for help, be ready, be open to receive those, because we're not supposed to carry things on our own. And it feels so much relief when you learn how to accept help. Like, you get to be so much better when people are there helping you. But again, like, the downside of this is don't get so used to it. I mean, you have to learn how to do things on your own. But when the time comes that you need to ask for help, be open. Learn how to accept help. Okay, the fifth is you're not supposed to be strong all the time, which again is also related to number four. Most of us in our 20s, we think that we have to be tough all the time. And I get it. The world is tough, especially if you're in the Philippines. The world is tough. The Philippines is tough, but we don't have to be tough all the time. Sometimes showing your vulnerability is what makes you even stronger. A lot of us are afraid to show the softness, like the sensitive side of us, because we don't want people to see us as somebody who's weak. When you embrace these vulnerabilities, it makes you strong in the sense that other people can't take these vulnerabilities against you anymore. When you own up to it, then that makes you stronger. Sixth is cherish your friendship because not all will last, and that's okay. So, number six is something that I wrote in my notes after having this conversation with some of my biz besties in a group chat. So, like, one of our friends was kind of, well, not complaining, but she was sharing that she has outgrown some of her friends because she realized that they are not aligned with some values anymore, and she kind of just has outgrown them. As somebody who had a friendship breakup, I would know that it's really painful. Like, sometimes, personally for me, I feel like friendship breakups are much, much worse than romantic breakups because friends are supposed to be there for you forever, like BFFs, best friends forever. And I get it. Like, sometimes, these romantic relationships we have, some of them are bound to end, but friendships are supposed to last forever. So I guess, like, for me, that was my thinking. So when I experienced friendship breakups, it was really tough for me. Like, I feel until now I'm still not over it. But now I realized that, yeah, people come and go. While the people you currently have right now are with you, are supporting you, make the most of it. And I'm not saying that you should have the mindset that friendships end, but what I'm trying to say is make the most of the friendships that you have right now, because some of them won't be there anymore when things change. Life happens. Sometimes we just misalign with things, sometimes we just outgrow each other, and that's it. Like, it's nobody's fault. We just don't match anymore. And it's painful, it hurts, but it happens. And those people were planted to be in those seasons of your life for a reason. Nobody knows what those reasons are, but they found their way into your life. And it's sad that some of them found their way out of it. But I believe that whenever those things happen, it's meant that they have already served their purpose for you, and you have already served your purpose for them. So while you have these friendship circles, these barcadas, yeah, make the most of it, cherish them. And when they leave, it's okay. Grieve for it if you must, but accept that their purpose for your life is already done. Okay, seven, say yes to a lot of things. Now, this is one of the things that I regret because when I was in college, like when I was in my late teens, I read this magazine that said that the no's that you say, like whenever you say no, like those are the moments that actually define you. And as somebody who was aspiring to be a girl boss, like I really took that to heart. Like, I said no to a lot of things. But then looking back, I realized that most of the things that I said no to were some of the things that I regret, which kind of led me to one of my battle cries that oh wells are better than what ifs. I would say, like, it's better that you say yes to a lot of things because It would make you learn which opportunities to say no to in the future. Oh my gosh, I'm not sure if I'm explaining this correctly, but I hope my point is coming across that as much as possible try to say yes, figure out what you like and what you don't like. And then in the future when the same opportunity or when the same kind of situation arises, you would know better if that situation deserves a yes or a no. I hope I explained that clearly. Okay, number 8. Lessons are best learned through experience. I know that so many people are, like trying to say like learn from other people's experience. And I know like one of the reasons why we read so much books, why we read so many resources is so that we won't commit the same mistakes as other people did. But personally, I would say like the lessons that you learned when you are experiencing the actual thing, they stick to you more. It's different when you really experience the lessons firsthand rather than read them from books. All the lessons that really stuck to me over the years are those moments that I actually experienced for myself. I think the reason why they really stuck with me is because I remember the emotions, I remember the situations, I remember telling myself that I'm never putting myself in this kind of situation anymore again. It's great that we are all reading these resources. It's great that we are trying to read all these books and to prepare ourselves, to equip ourselves, and be familiar with tools that would help us navigate situations better. But yeah, it's really different when you experience firsthand. Next, number 9, explore as many things in as many places as you can. So I've been saying the word explore over and over again since the first one. But yeah, explore as many things in as many places as you can because number one, usually, supposedly, when we're in our 20s, this is the time when we don't really have that much dependence yet. Unless, of course, if you already have a family at an early age. But for most of us, ideally, we don't really have dependence yet. We don't really have to pay for our family bills, or we don't really have to raise a child yet. We don't have that much responsibilities yet. So now is the best time for you to explore places and, like you have your income for you to spend on your own. Again, like I don't know how the other family situations are, financial situations are, but ideally, when you're in your 20s, this is how it usually looks like. Like you don't have all these other responsibilities yet. But number 10, don't go broke trying to. So I see so many people as well. They wanted to explore way too many things. They want to go travel. They want to do so many things, but then they ended up living beyond their means, or they ended up maximizing their credit cards and all these loaning options that are available for us. And while it's great that we have access to all these credit cards and loans and all that, but handle those things with care because sometimes if we're not careful, it blows up. Sometimes, like those debts that we pay roll into years and years and years of us trying to pay them off. So, explore as many things as you can, but number 10, don't go broke trying to. All right. 11. Change is painful, but usually it's worth it. So, in the last 4 years, I have experienced so much change in my life. I went from being a corporate employee to being a freelancer to being a business owner to being an agency owner to all these things. I went from being a single woman to a married woman and all that. And change is beautiful, but most of the time it's painful. And painful in the sense that, like you are going to be really stretched into your core. Like the universe, God would really test you what your limit is in terms of handling all these trials, these problems that, would come into your lap. Sometimes those things are really there to help you learn and again, like as I've said in number 8, lessons are best learned through experience. When you are in this growth season, try to be present as much as you can, try to learn as much as you can, try to get as many lessons as you can because yeah, change is beautiful, but it can also be painful. But that pain, the lessons that you learn from that pain is something that you are going to carry with you forever. Those are really going to stick with you. Okay, number 12, health really is wealth. And I learned this the hard way early this year. So early this year, I got dengue and I got confined in the hospital for 5 days. And it was during that time when I thought that, oh my gosh, life really is so short. And it was also in that moment where I realized that I wanted a lifestyle shift because I was working my ass off all the time, that I really wasn't able to really enjoy what I was working so hard for. And when you are in your 20s, that's when you are your strongest. That's when usually you're in your fittest. And honestly, like, I just turned 30, but I could already tell the difference. You know, like I can't last in the dance floor anymore. I can't stay up late too much anymore. I already have these certain ways that 20-year-old me would laugh about. But yeah, our bodies are changing. We are literally growing older. So in your 20s, while you still can, try to take care of your health. Drink your vitamins, go outside, walk, jog, run, do whatever, do all these fun activities. The future you would really thank you for it. And number 13, save your money. If you are in your 20s and if you don't have really that much responsibilities yet, now is the best time to set aside money for your future. During this time, it is usually when you don't really have to pay a lot of heavy bills, quote unquote. Probably at your 20s is the time when you don't have to pay for a mortgage, you don't have to pay for, I don't know, more adult stuff, more adult bills. So while you still have most of your money to yourself, don't forget to set aside for the rainy days. Set aside an emergency fund because we really don't know what could happen. And we all experienced that when the pandemic happened, right? So save your money. Number 14 is shoot your shot and take your chances. Whenever the opportunities arise, try not to overthink it and just do it. Sometimes things that are presented, opportunities that are presented in our laps, they don't last there for long. Sometimes they're just there for a little while. And it's up to you if you think fast, if you take action fast. People would say, like, there are people who are lucky, but then again, I'm a firm believer of one of the definitions of luck is that it's preparedness plus the perfect time is equal to luck. So, yeah, when opportunities arise, shoot your shot. You'll never know what's going to happen. When you shoot your shot, only two things could happen. You either get it, you might get a yes, so good for you, congratulations, or you get a no, which again, congratulations because of that you learned the lesson. Number 15, most things are not really that big of a deal. Shoot your shot because most things are not really that big of a deal. You know, when we are in our 20s, we usually think of things like everything has so much gravity, you know, like everything is such a big deal. And while there are really some things that are such a big deal, looking back, like the things that I was stressing so much on, they weren't even that important. Like they didn't even really matter in the grander scheme of things. And honestly, I can't even remember why I was stressing about those things. Like they all seem small now, looking back. With number 15, it's more of just like, take it easy. And that's a lot coming from me because I never take things easy. But that's one of the things that I'm trying to embody as I turn 30. Number 16 is trust your gut. So I can't tell you how many times this lesson has saved me from bad situations. So, you know, those times when on paper everything looks perfect. Let's put this in the context of the business, right? So, right now I'm running a small business, and whenever we have people who are applying to work with us, we usually do discovery calls. And sometimes on paper, like these potential clients, they're perfect. They fit the requirements, they fit the profile that we're looking for. But sometimes, you know, there's just something in me that kind of makes me want to say no. Like there's just something in me that doesn't really sit well with things. Like you can't really point it out. You can't really nitpick which one it is that doesn't feel right because on paper everything looks great, but there's just something. There's just this vibe that's just, you know, not giving. And whenever you feel those, that is your gut. That's your gut telling you. That's your gut screaming at you to listen to it. So as much as possible, listen to it. And one of the things that I have learned also, like I feel like I've read this in a book or maybe from a Pinterest post, is that whenever you listen to your gut, every time you listen to your gut, it becomes louder and louder in the future. So in the first few times when you make decisions and then you feel like there is an inkling, there's this like hint of a doubt, that is your gut. And then when you listen to that gut and the next time when you are in a situation where you need to make decisions, this gut feeling, this voice in your head becomes louder. So the more you trust it, the better it gets at calling you out in those situations. So trust your gut. Number 17, fill your own cup first. So, one of the things that a lot of people call me out for is that I'm selfish. And I never really felt bad about being selfish because honestly, I felt like I really need to cater to myself first before I serve anybody else. I feel like if I am forced to serve anybody else without dealing with my own needs first, I'm just half assing things and nobody wants that, right? So that is something that I definitely want to bring with me now that I'm in my 30s is that I will always put myself first, that I will always fill my cup first. You'd notice that you could serve so much better when you yourself are satisfied. Number 18, be unapologetic about things that excite you. And this is one of the things that I learned from the mother, Taylor Swift. Before, when I like certain things or when I feel excited about certain situations, I would always tone it down because I don't want to be high key. I just want to be low key, like medyo pa cool kind of thing. And I didn't want to show so much that I liked something that much, that I feel strongly about something. But then I realized that again, life is too short to mask those excitements. And usually, experiences are much better when you feel those feelings, when you let those excitements overcome your body, when you let those excitements flow through you. Things just become more enjoyable. And number 19, most of the things are not within your control. So let go. Okay, this is a recurring theme in my life. If you know me in person, you'd know that I am such a planner person. I cannot live without my planner. I cannot live without my ClickUp. I cannot live without my calendar. I hate surprises. I'm making it so hard for my friends to throw a surprise birthday party for me. I made it so hard for my bridesmaids and maid of honor to throw like a bridal thing for me because I hate not knowing things. And most of the time, the fact that I try so much to plan things out, to be in control, to stay on top of things, those are usually the times when things would really not go my way. Like the universe would just play with me. I feel like the universe is saying, "Oh, you think you're on top of things? Okay, let me give you this curveball and this curveball." And honestly, like 2 weeks ago, this happened to me. I felt like I planned for my life and my business so well, but there were two big curveballs that just came my way, and it just shattered me. Like, honestly, the last 2 weeks has been so intense for me emotionally, physically, mentally, financially. My God. But if there's anything that I learned from this season is that there are just things that are not in your control. And you just gotta let it be. You just need to let it happen to you. You just need to be in that moment, feel the frustration, feel all the changes that needs to be changed, and let it go. Because that's the only thing you can do. Which leads me to the last thing, to lesson number 20, is that sometimes the best thing to do is to just sit still. So again, if you know me, you'd know that I'm always the kind of person that's proactive. Like I never take no for an answer. If you say no, I'll be like, okay, maybe we can do this instead or that instead. Like if somebody says that that's not possible, I'm not the type of person who would just go, oh, okay, so it's not possible. I'm the type of person who's gonna think about plan A's, plan B's, plan C's, and all the other plans just to make things happen. But then yeah, life happens, shit happens. And sometimes the best thing to do is just to really sit still. Like instead of, fighting forward, sometimes what you have to do is take a step back, assess the situation, see what's happening, see what the lessons are coming out of this situation. And from there, when you're coming from a place where you are more put together, you are not in the state of panic anymore, you make better decisions. And that is what I'm trying to embody right now as I turn 30. So, yeah, I'm not going to wrap this up because those are 20 things and that's going to take forever. But yeah, I'm curious. Are you also wrapping up a big chapter in your life, whether that's turning into a year older, whether you are facing a big change in your life, whether it's a career change, a business change, whatever it is? I'm curious, like, what are the lessons that you've learned from those things? And from all these 20 lessons that I've learned, which one is your favorite? Which ones do you resonate with the most? And yeah, let me know in Spotify. So in Spotify, there is a poll, or let me know in Instagram. You could send me a DM and we could chat there. And yeah, we could continue learning about life together. So, whew, that was kind of intense. But thank you so much for being with me, for listening to this episode. And yeah, I'll see you again next week. Bye.
Thanks again for listening to Spill the Creativity podcast. If you like this episode, I would really appreciate it if you can give me a 5-star rating on Spotify and a 5-star review on Apple Podcast. Or you can also take a screenshot and tag me on Instagram at Spill the Creativity Podcast, and you can also try the special filters if you want. Thanks again for listening to this episode, and make sure to catch fresh drops every Thursday morning. Bye!